Uh-oh. Part 2. Electricity. Welcome to the Drunk Linux User. I'm Len. I am the Drunk Linux User. And in the last uh-oh video, I talked about losing the internet. And that's bad enough. But what happens about losing your electricity? Are you prepared if the power grid goes down? This year, we're being warned that the electricity in any given area might be turned off temporarily, and for how long, who knows. The reason might be due to an overload on the power grid, and it could also be that power demands have just increased so much that they just can't keep up with it, or because the energy sources needed to produce energy have dwindled radically, or those sources have been run low or been used up. Losing electricity affects everyone: the banks, the stores, the gas stations, your ISPs, and yes, possibly even the internet in your area. This will affect you personally as well. Your frozen foods will need to be brought out and cooked if you're starting to lose the cold temperature in the freezer. You might not have hot water, and maybe the local water supply system gets turned off as well. Now, some industries do have backup generators, and they'll continue to work as long as their power sources have the fuel needed to keep them going. You can get backup generators as well, maybe even supplement with solar panels, wind, whatever. But without fuel, without sun, and without wind, it's not going to last very long. And it might not be enough to keep things running for long, or maybe just for a few appliances. You're going to have to prioritize. Okay, cats are playing. It's going to sound like a real nasty fight here in just a minute. So, what should you do if you want to be ready? These are suggestions, again, not an all-encompassing or complete overall look as to what's going to happen, but it's trying to be a practical approach towards what you need to do regarding your computer and your data. This is a tech channel, this is not a prepper channel. In the last show, I mentioned that you should get all your banking information, all your financial information put together and put away. Let's face it, if the power's gone, you're not going to keep that computer plugged into a wall socket and expect it to work. So here's some suggestions, and please feel free to comment below. I'm going to move over here. One thing I strongly suggest, especially if you do a lot of work at home or you just don't want your system hosed in the first place, is to get a UPS. Let's bring this up here. A UPS is an uninterruptible power supply. I'm not advocating for any of this equipment. Again, as I've mentioned before, nobody pays me for this stuff, so grain of salt. These are just starting points that you can continue on your journey to try to find the best solutions for you, okay? So there are different kinds of UPS systems, and my suggestion is get the best one you can buy with the money that you have. Don't go into debt or anything like that. Just get what you can afford, if you even can afford it. If not, like I said before, back up all your stuff, print out all your important things, and just be ready for the eventuality that something like that might happen. Now, if the power goes out while your computer's running, a UPS system can give you enough time to, it's a big battery basically. It'll give you enough time to be able to properly shut down your computer, maybe even save your document, Maybe if you're lucky enough, you'll be able to print out. But if your power is gone, more than likely your internet's down as well. You've got a power-based modem and a power-based router, so you're not going to probably have those hooked up as well. You want to make sure you have enough time to save your data. Okay. So that's what a UPS can do to help. Yes, there are some that can really go for a long time, 10 minutes for half a load, but only 3 minutes for a full load. So you may not have a whole lot of time, okay? So this is one starting point right here. And again, before things go too far, I've got the list over to my left-hand side. I'm going to refer to this so that I don't lose my train of thought. Happens. Before things go too far, print out your important documents, put them in a file folder, and then put them in a filing cabinet, a drawer, a box, or any other place to which you have easy access. You never know if you're going to need an account number, your latest statements, or even scanned in images of your driver's license, social security card, wedding certificate, etc. You just never know what's going to happen. An alternative to putting it in a box is putting it in a safe, and you can find all different kinds of safes at all different kinds of prices. I would suggest getting something. I know this sounds stupid, but but you can buy safes that do not lock. Okay, they're just like a good storage locker, but try to find something that's also fireproof. Okay, that's very important. And there's a listing of the different kinds of safes on this webpage. Again, a starting point. If you have an alternate power supply, get rid of you. If you have an alternate power supply that can run for a while, make sure that if you have Wi-Fi enabled equipment, you can also hook this up by USB. If you're trying to run your computer, your modem, your router, Wi-Fi router, and you've got, for example, like I've got over here, a Wi-Fi printer, and you're trying to print something out in those precious few moments, or maybe you do have a generator running, okay? Less power if you use a USB cord to go from your computer to the printer. I know this may sound like, well, duh to some people. Other people may not think of that way. So let's look at it this way. If you're using something that's going to use fuel to keep your refrigerator going, your freezer going, a light or two on in the house, and you absolutely need to get something off the computer, do you want to suck down that fuel by trying to do a bunch of Wi-Fi stuff in the house? I think I'm going to choose my food over the Wi-Fi. Don't try to rely on your phones. Because you're not going to be able to charge things up if you don't have a way of being able to keep them charged. Now, does your phone happen to have removable batteries? If you do, you're lucky. If you don't, you most likely have one of the newer big name phones out there anyway. So if you have the ability to replace your battery, you might want to consider buying another one or two and try to keep them charged up, alternate, so that you don't, damage the batteries over time, and swap them out. It's like every week, just swap them out. If you can load up on batteries, if you want to keep a radio going so that you can hear what's going on in the world, but eventually they drain out. And quite honestly, I think I'd rather save batteries for electric lanterns, or maybe something that is a bit more important. That's just my feeling on it. A radio is important, but you can also get hand cranked radios, okay? And for example, the one they're showing right here, not only can it give you radio so that you can listen into what's going on in your area, but it can also charge up your electronic devices. Yes, it's going to be manual work, but if you want to keep that phone going and you can't replace the battery, this is a good option. All right, so This might sound trite, but there's something else you should do if the power goes out. Weather permitting, go outside. Take off your shoes and socks and wiggle your toes in the ground. It's called grounding. Depending on where you live, mind the fire ants, the in the ground beehives, poison ivy, poison oak. You get the idea. But it's good for your body, and it will help you to just kind of feel, and I'm not trying to make a pun here, but you will feel a bit more grounded, and it does help with relieving stress. I have a website here that talks about it. There's plenty of them out there. And this is from Healthline. And it's also called earthing. It's a therapeutic technique that involves doing activities that ground or electrically reconnect you to the earth. So, I know this might sound like new age BS, but I'll tell you the truth. When I go outside, I'll take off my shoes and socks. I do mind the fire ants because of where I live. And I spend about 10-15 minutes. Maybe I'll take out a chair or something. But you just kind of feel more connected to yourself. We use too many polyesters and things that kind of keep us separated from the earth in the first place. So let's see. Read a book. You know that you might discover that your imagination gets supercharged. I have a page here that lists a number of different books if you're interested. Of course, you can always go on right now, Amazon, eBay. Just don't go all drunk and buzzed up on there. But get some books. Just something that when there's nothing you can do, there's nothing that you, maybe the weather's too bad or whatever, go ahead and just read, you know. Let's see here. If have anybody living with you, make sure you have some playing cards and some board games. And that helps pass the time. Back in the day when we didn't have internet and there was only 3 stations and 1 public access on UHF, there were a lot of times that we would just get games to play. Things like Sorry, Trouble, Parcheesi, just a whole bunch of things. I've got a web page here that you can look at. This is really good because if you have kids, you can teach them not only how to be a good loser, but a gracious winner, okay? And not like in your face kind of stuff, but you know, it's like, hey, that was a good game. I had a lot of fun. Want to play again? Want to win back those pretzels you just lost to me? That kind of stuff. If you have animals, spend more time with your animals. My gosh, if the weather's good again, take them out for those long walks, and just take your mind off the fact that your tech is not going to be all that available to you. Okay? And again, if you have kids, there are lots of different activities that you can use or do with them. And here's a list of 100 things that you can think about doing. Again, use these as a starting point. True, as the kids get older, they're definitely more, they're more used to playing their games on their phones or their Xbox or whatever they've got. And this is a good time to reconnect with the family again as well. Maybe even your neighbors if you know who they are, and just kind of have a life outside of tech. You know, take a bad thing and try to make it positive. Try to get something out of this. The most important thing, though, that I want to pass along to you is no matter what the circumstances, whether the power's gone out because of a lack of resources or because of bad weather, you know, during an ice storm, those lines can come down. During bad thunderstorms, trees can bring down power lines. There's lots of different reasons why the power can go out. Just be ready, but be safe, okay? Now let's hope the power doesn't go out, but if it does, just be prepared for it. Have it in the back of your mind that if something really bad happens, that you're not freaking out because, oh my God, what do I do? I've got all this stuff here on tech, but I don't have anything that I can use. So, all things considered, things could be pretty tough and rough for a while, but do try to make the best of a bad situation. Be prepared. Know that you do have contingency plans in the event that your power is out for maybe a week because of inclement weather, maybe a day or two if it happens to be due to resources in your area. Whatever the situation is, just be safe, be prepared, okay? In the meantime, let's talk about our words of wisdom. Don't drive drunk. Don't drink and drive. Don't go to eBay, Amazon, or use MS Edge shopping all buzzed up thinking you're going to buy the latest, greatest, and coolest stuff. You're probably not. And in the meantime, bottoms up. Later, dudes. Tomorrow, part 3.